Hello YouTube, my name is Nero. Today we're going to be talking about the best Call of Duty in the history of the franchise. What is the best Call of Duty? What defines the best Call of Duty? What necessarily makes one Call of Duty game better than the other Call of Duty games? I really put a lot of time and thought into this video. In fact, I planned to do this video by quickly covering the entire history of the Call of Duty series. I actually had, at first I'm like, I'm going to quickly cover every single Call of Duty game. And before I knew it, I had like a 7-page script all typed out. Defining every single Call of Duty game, what they did new, what the multiplayer was like, what the campaign was like, and what the lasting legacy of the game was. If you guys remember, I did a series called The Return To, where I returned to every single Call of Duty game from Call of Duty 4 up to Advanced Warfare. Of course, I did not cover Black Ops 3 because it was current at the time. And I went back and I played the games, I did live commentaries and discussed the legacy of the game and how it has changed over the years and what it was like back in the day. And just overall, I put a lot of thought into this video. And then I realized that Drifter over on his YouTube channel is also doing a history of Call of Duty series, and looking at it, like everything that his video is what I want my video to be, but my video would be nowhere near as detailed and as well edited as the video series that he is doing. So I highly recommend you guys go ahead and check out that video series. I watched every single one of them last night. I just found out about them last night. I watched every single one of them. They are fantastic. So go ahead and check that out. But for this video, we're going to be doing something a bit more laid back and discussing what I believe to be the best Call of Duty game in the history of the franchise. After a lot of thought, after playing all the games, I have days upon days upon days of playtime in every single game, and after writing up that 7-page script, which I now kind of have to toss, I've determined that, in my opinion, the best Call of Duty game in the history of the franchise is the original Black Ops. And I know some people are going to hate that, right? And it all comes down to personal opinion. It all comes down to preference, right? A lot of people hated Black Ops. I personally loved it. I personally did not like Call of Duty Ghosts. Like, that's like probably my least favorite Call of Duty game in the history of the series, whereas other people love that game. I was not a giant fan of Modern Warfare 3. People love that game. It's all personal preference. And frankly, if we all agreed with each other on absolutely everything, then this community would be pretty boring. And I think none of us would have any real taste, right? If we all just agreed on everything was, objectively right or wrong. It's definitely a gray area, and for me personally, I think the original Black Ops is the best Call of Duty game. I went back, and just to try and get rid of my rose-tinted goggles here, I decided to go back and play it this afternoon. I ended up passing 120,000 total kills in that game. I've played a lot of the original Black Ops, and I really think that the game itself is pretty good. Now, the original plan for this video was I was going to read you guys an excerpt from my script where I was going to try and break down the entire history of the Call of Duty series, but I decided to redo this video because it ended up being like a 3-minute long monologue describing the history of Black Ops, and just it really was like off-putting in the video. The more I watched it, the more off-putting it was, so I decided to cut that out. But instead, I'm just going to try to describe to you guys why I feel as though Call of Duty Black Ops is the best game in the entire Call of Duty series. Now, before we go any further, I would like to say that if you don't like the original Black Ops, that's perfectly fine. You're entitled to your opinion, and I respect your opinion. Just for me personally, the original Black Ops is my favorite game. And while I would love to hear down there in the comments what is your favorite Call of Duty game, in your opinion, what is the best Call of Duty game in the history of the series, I am also going to have a straw poll. Check the link down there in the video description. It's going to open up a straw poll for you guys, where you guys can go ahead and vote just to get a general vibe for what people consider to be the best Call of Duty games in the history of the series. So why do I personally feel as though Black Ops is the best Call of Duty game? Let's start things off here with the graphics. I have a number of things I want to cover here, like graphics, weapons, maps, kill streaks, perks, zombies, campaigns, so on and so forth. We're going to start with graphics. The graphics for Black Ops back in the day were awesome. I really feel as though they were good, and some people thought they looked cartoony. I'm okay with how they looked. Like, sure, they were cartoony. They were brighter and more colorful than, say, what we saw in Modern Warfare 2 and Call of Duty 4, and especially World at War. And I like that fact because I like games to be bright and colorful, and it was nice how they could actually take a serious setting like Vietnam and the Cold War and make it so the maps aren't just bland and boring to look at. I've always criticized Infinity Ward for making their games very gray and blah. Black Ops was very nice to look at, and sure, looking at the footage here, it hasn't really withstood the test of time that well. I mean, we are talking about an Xbox 360 game from 2011, so I think we can cut them a little bit of slack, but overall, the graphics, especially for the time, I think it's important to really look back and think critically on a game during its prime if you're going to try and determine what game is the best. I feel as though for the time, the graphics were pretty awesome. The weaponry, still to this day, this has some of the best weapons in the Call of Duty series, in my opinion, because every weapon is viable and unique, and they just threw weapons at the game for seemingly no reason. Like, how many submachine guns are actually in this game that you can even name? Like, sure, there were popular ones like the 74U and the MP5K, but there's also like the Kaparis, there's, what's the name of that one? The PM63, there's the MPL, there's a bunch of SMGs in this game that I can't even name because they just added a bunch of guns to the game, just to add in a bunch of guns. And sure, they may not be the best weapons in the world, but they have a bunch of guns in there just for the sake of having variety. I mean, you had yourself dual-wield shotguns, you had a double-barrel shotgun, you had bolt-action snipers, semi-automatic snipers, lots of different assault rifles, 2 different burst rifles. I loved all the weapon variety in the game. I will say that the FAMAS is still brokenly overpowered to this day, and if I were king, I would make them go back and nerf it even to this day. But still, I feel as though the weapons in the original Black Ops were very fun. They had a nice mix of like classic old school weapons like M16s and AK-47s, like classic Vietnam style weapons, while at the same time having prototypes like the G11, having the MP5K in there. Just overall, I really enjoyed all the weapon variety in the game, and that's evident if you look at my combat record. I have over 1,000 kills with almost every weapon in the game. It's kind of insane. The maps were incredible in my opinion. I can't think of a single bad map that came shipped with the game. Now, I'd have to really go back and look at all the DLC maps, and maybe I can find a bad map from the DLC, but overall, I have enjoyed most of the DLC maps. I feel as though there is not a bad map in the original Black Ops. They had such a great contrast. Like, you have these big maps, which are amazing for scout sniping. Like, go to YouTube after this video. Well, I guess you're already on YouTube, technically. And type in NerosCinema scout sniping. There's an old video of me playing the original Black Ops where I'm scout sniping people from like several hundred yards away, not missing a single shot, and just, I love that playstyle, and that was on the map Array. And at the same time, you could also play Array with a submachine gun, or an assault rifle, or a shotgun if you like want to like hover around in the middle building there. Like, every single map is viable for every playstyle. And I'm losing my voice. I can feel myself losing it, and I'm sure it's picking up on the audio. But every single weapon is viable on every single map. They have a nice contrast of big maps and small maps. Like, you have maps like Nuketown, Firing Range, and Summit, which everyone seemed to love because they were small and fast-paced and popular. But in my opinion, like, one of the reasons why those maps were so popular was the fact that they were kind of contrasted with other maps, big maps like Jungle and Havana and Cracked. And so you will play like 2 or 3 games on Jungle and Havana, and then you go play Nuketown, and it's like, okay, there's a big contrast here. Then you go back and play Cracked, and after Cracked, you go play Firing Range. There's a big variety of maps in this game. It's not like newer Call of Duty games where everything is small, right? Everything's small and everything's fast-paced. There's no real contrast to it. What makes small maps fun is the fact that you don't play them all the time, right? And so I liked the variety, the juxtaposition, I think is the term, that you have between a lot of the maps. And of course, all the maps themselves were incredibly unique and had lots of great historical settings like Vietnam and stuff like that with Jungle. So overall, I feel as though the maps, gosh, my voice is going. Overall, I feel as though the maps were pretty freaking good. The Killstreaks were some of the most iconic in the history of the series, in my opinion. Like, you have the SR-71 Blackbird, which is probably the most powerful killstreak in the history of the game. Sure, it's been in future Call of Duty games as well, but it was so powerful. It's like the ultimate anti-camper / support killstreak in the game. Like, it helps your team out so much. The Chopper Gunner, I think the Chopper Gunner from Black Ops is better than the Chopper Gunner from, say, Modern Warfare 2 or any other Chopper Gunner in the history of the series, because you're hanging out the side of this thing, just raining down death. It was so much fun. Very, very cool. Of course, attack dogs were basically the same as they were back in World at War, but they were a lot more powerful, a lot more lethal. And even on the small end of the spectrum, you had fun support ones like the SAM turret. There's something fun to me about placing a SAM turret. It feels like you're playing Battlefield almost when you place down a SAM turret and it's taking down UAVs. You have the napalm strikes coming in, which of course were very iconic for the Vietnam War, and therefore they were in this game, and they were pretty fun, right? The entire idea of laying down fire and people, like, being able to block people off from entire sections of maps, I thought that was pretty cool as well. Overall, just the kill streaks were fun. They weren't score streaks, sure, but there's something to be said about actually earning a kill streak rather than just, capturing flags and stuff like that. There's an old video on my channel. I can't remember what the title of it was, but I was playing Ground War Domination in Black Ops 2, and I earned a swarm with like 2 kills. The rest of them were me just capturing flags and stuff like that because we were just stomping the other team and taking all the flags and stuff like that. So there's something to be said about kill streaks. I'm not sure which I prefer, kill streaks score streaks, or point streaks, but I like the kill streaks in Black Ops 1. Overall, they were some of the best in the history of the series. The perks were incredibly powerful, right? As an objective player, it does not get much better than the original Black Ops. Like, I have Flak Jacket, I have Tac Mask, I'm pretty much immune to all sorts of explosives and stun grenades and flashes and gases, all that stuff. Just, you can't touch me. It's amazing. I love it so much. Like 9 out of my 10 classes have Flak Jacket and Tac Mask on them. I think one of them has Ghost. Oh no, that's actually not right. I actually have a couple of classes with Scavenger, but that's required for certain weapons. But regardless, the perks are fun. Like, they're very, very good. And I feel as though they were actually balanced pretty well with each other. I remember a lot of people complaining about Ghost, but to me, Ghost was never really a giant issue in the original Black Ops because that perk was competing with Hardline and Flak Jacket. And since I only play objective game modes, if, you know, Timmy No Thumbs on the other team is going to be running around with Ghost, I'm okay with that. That means he's not going to be able to capture any flags, and he's not going to be able to hide from my Blackbird anyway, which I earn at least one of them just about every single game for the most part, so it never really bothered me. I feel as though the perks themselves were all pretty well spread out and well balanced, and I loved the fact that pro perks were actually in the game. Now, some people, I've had a discussion with my friend Cypher on this, he did not like the idea of pro perks because it was grindy every time he prestiged, but I did like the idea of pro perks, and to this day I like the idea of pro perks. It incentivizes you to play the game in a way that you typically would not want to play. Like, I remember to unlock Ghost Pro, and if I have any of these, I think I have the right idea here, but I'm sure some of my facts are going to be wrong. This is all purely off of memory. I think for Ghost Pro, one of the challenges was you needed to knife sentry guns or a sentry gun or something like that, and so I can remember we would actually earn sentry guns, and they were actually, you didn't just, like, you know, pull one out of your pocket and place it down. You had to call in a care package and grab your sentry gun from the care package. We would throw our sentry gun care packages towards, like, where the other team was spawning, so they would take it, grab it, and place down the sentry gun so we could go ahead and knife it, right? I remember, I think to get Marathon Pro, you needed to actually capture flags and capture the flags, so one day we hop on, like, all right, boys, let's go get Marathon Pro. Today's Marathon Day, you know, and instead of playing Domination like we used to, we would go play Capture the Flag, and we would take turns deciding who's the person to actually capture the flag, or we'd go play, is it Search and Destroy or Demolition? Something like that. You had to actually plant bombs to actually unlock Flak Jacket Pro or throw back grenades. And there's so many things for you to do. It kept me interested, right? And as somebody who, you know, you can make the argument that it was bad for people that wanted prestige, but I made it through 15 prestiges, plus a bunch of other prestiges on alt accounts and stuff. You know, I went through a lot of prestiges. I personally thought that pro perks were fun to get, and I loved the fact that I always had something to work towards every time I was playing. It wasn't just, you know, let's hop on and get some kills. It's kind of that way now because I have, like, everything unlocked in the game. I've been 15th prestige for a while, but it always gave you something to work towards. Now, I will say it's probably bad for people that want to play the game nowadays, because I think when I was on this afternoon, there was a total of 3 people trying to play Capture the Flag, and they're all probably trying to get Marathon Pro, but aside from that, I mean, I wish they could fill up the lobbies a little bit more, so maybe getting those perks is difficult, you know, now that the game is like 6 or 7 years old, but overall, I feel as though pro perks were actually pretty freaking awesome. Now, to wrap up multiplayer talk, we have to, of course, bring up COD points, because they were such a big deal in the original Black Ops, and we haven't seen them in their true form ever since the original Black Ops. So as you guys know, COD points are a currency in modern games that you use to buy supply drops. Well, back in Black Ops, when COD points were first implemented, they were not a currency that you could purchase. You could only earn them in-game, and you used them for absolutely everything. If you wanted to unlock a gun, you had to use COD points. If you wanted to unlock a camo, you had to use COD points. There was no earning your camos, you had to earn them with COD points. If you wanted to get a kill streak, you need COD points. Everything required COD points, right? You would basically get them by playing the game. You would get them by completing contracts, which are like daily challenges, which are actually really cool. Just completing all of your contracts, you would look and see, oh wow, there's a Scorpion Master contract. Let's go ahead and do that. And now you're forcing yourself to use the Scorpion. It got people trying out different things. And I was a big fan of the contract system, honestly. And of course, you had wager matches, which were a very good way to earn COD points in a hurry if you were a good player. So there were 3 different tiers of wager matches. The highest one, I think it was like 10,000 COD points just to even get in, and if you won, you got like 30, or I probably have the numbers wrong, but you got a lot of COD points that way. It was a lot of fun, and you would play these party modes like Gun Game, like Sharpshooter, One in the Chamber, Sticks and Horizon Stones, these were all added to the game for the first time in the original Black Ops. And so overall, I love that system. We've never seen it in Call of Duty ever again, but I thought personally the COD point system was awesome. Along with wager matches, that was just like an extra layer to the multiplayer itself. Zombies was solidly okay. Now, I'm not here to say, I'm not going to try and trump this up or anything, but like, yeah, Zombies was the greatest experience ever in Black Ops 1. It was alright. It was solidly okay. In my opinion, Black Ops 2 had much better zombies. I think some people think maybe Black Ops 3 is better zombies, but for me personally, I think my best zombies experience was in Black Ops 2, but Black Ops 1 wasn't terrible, right? It wasn't bad whatsoever, and it was also pretty cool when they gave us the Resurrection DLC. I remember the day that I found out the Resurrection DLC was going to be happening. I was looking at my phone while getting my haircut. My cousin actually owns a salon. I was at her place, and so I'm sitting there getting my haircut, and I'm looking at my phone, I'm like browsing through Twitter or something like that, and they're like, hey, guess what? Resurrection DLC. I'm like, wait, what? Resurrection DLC? And they're bringing back all the World at War Zombies maps while also giving us other maps like Moon were in the game and Ascension and Call of the Dead. Like all these maps were there. Overall, Zombies I thought was pretty good in the original Black Ops, which was definitely something to be said for that. Like if you're thinking of the best Call of Duty game in the history of the series, don't be just thinking about multiplayer. What about the extra game mode, right? Modern Warfare 2, going back to that as an example. Sure, the multiplayer was fun. A bit buggy, but it was fun. But what aside from that, Spec Ops, you really think Spec Ops from Modern Warfare 2 is better than Zombies? Like, just think about that when you're thinking of the best Call of Duty game in the history of the series. I feel as though Zombies was pretty good. Not the best, but it was a lot of fun. And the campaign, in my opinion, was probably my favorite campaign in the history of the series. And I know some people may think of that as sacrilege, like the Modern Warfare campaigns were very good, and I agree. But for me, it comes down to setting, as well as just the unique way that they told the story in the original Black Ops, right? The entire idea of you being interrogated and reliving all of your memories and then bringing back characters from World at War and tying up things and having throwback missions to World War II while at the same time being in Vietnam. And just so many cool things that happened in that campaign. I kind of want to go back and play it, honestly. Like, I might just go back and play it and do a Let's Play on my Let's Play channel, Nero's Let's Plays, just to go back and experience it once again, because it's been a long time, and I think it would be a lot of fun. I feel as though the campaign was good, and overall, I feel as though the original Black Ops was probably just the best Call of Duty game. It has its problems. Like, every COD game has its problems. I would say the biggest problems for Black Ops 1 are the hit detection is not very good, right? The World at War and Black Ops, hit detection is not very good, and the FAMAS is overpowered. But aside from that, I can't think of too many problems with the actual multiplayer itself. The campaign was great. Zombies was fun. And overall, if I were king and I had to make a decree, like, everyone's going to go play this Call of Duty until the end of time. The COD series is going to cease to exist. All other games besides the one game of my choosing is just going to disappear. I think I might pick the original Black Ops to be the game that everybody has to go back and play. I think it might just be the best Call of Duty game in the history of the series. Although I will say, before I end off the video here, Black Ops 2 is pretty close. I had a long discussion with my buddy Cypher on this one night, and I've been thinking about it a lot more since, and Black Ops 2 is a really good game as well. It really was. But when it comes down to it, I think I prefer Zombies in Black Ops 2, and I preferred the hit detection in Black Ops 2. But not necessarily the Killstreaks. Like, the Killstreaks were good, don't get me wrong, they were powerful, but it's tough to compete with that Chopper Gunner, man. The Chopper Gunner Dogs combo, like, sure, Swarm was great, and but we couldn't really run those in Black Ops 2. It was a bit of an issue back in Black Ops 2. People would rage quit if you called in anything higher than, like, a stealth chopper in that game for some reason, so we didn't really call in anything that big. I played a lot of Black Ops 2. I made it to Prestige Master twice in that game, 2 times, but I still feel as though the original Black Ops is a better game, a bit better, not wildly better, but just a little bit better, and that's why, in my opinion, it's the best game in the history of the Call of Duty series. Once again, guys, link down there in the video description to a straw poll. It's a free site. You just click on it and you click vote. There's nothing to it. You don't have to sign up or anything. You just go vote. If you're a fan of Twitch, I'm sure you know what straw poll is. You just go over there and you vote, and I just would like to see, like, what do you guys believe to be the best Call of Duty game? And if you could, down there in the comment section below, let me know why you chose what you chose. Like, why is Modern Warfare 3 your favorite Call of Duty game? Why is Ghost your favorite Call of Duty game? Why is World at War your favorite Call of Duty game? I'd love to hear about that down there in the comment section below. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Drop me a rating. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day.